Well, I don't know. I think ignorance, fear, wholesale demonizing. You can't demonize people you know, and so you want to put yourselves in the vicinity of the people that you might demonize or be fearful of. It's a human thing, though I'm not sure we've ever experienced a time of such a heightened, pronounced demonizing than the current time we're in, where there are these polarities that are so disheartening, especially in our country. So I don't know, it's tough. But, at our place, I always, if anybody would tend to demonize the gang member, I would tell them, come to Homeboy. Then you walk in and there's just a palpable sense of humanity and hilarity and goodness, which is important. Yes, ma'am?
When did you get the calling to do this ministry?
When did I get the calling to do this ministry? Well, I sort of backed into it. I became a Jesuit because I loved the Jesuits. I was taught by the Jesuits. They were hilarious. And they were prophetic. They were the funniest people on earth. And this was during the Vietnam War. They would say, come on, we're going to protest the war. And okay, and the combo burger of hilarity and prophetic stance, I just kept saying over and over to myself, I want what they're having. And so I joined the Jesuits. And then the next thing that happens is you become a priest, but then I wanted to work with the poor. And then I went to Bolivia and it changed my heart inside out. And I spoke Spanish, and I was supposed to go to Santa Clara, and it was kind of not enough for me, nothing against Santa Clara, so I told my provincial I really want to work with the poor, and so he sent me to Dolores Mission, and then I discovered I happened to be in a place of the highest concentration of gang activity in the world. So I did not set out to do any of this, but I sort of backed my way into it. And now it's a vocation within a vocation within a vocation. How about two more questions? Yes, sir.
I really have to ask you this.
Yes.
Can I get up?
Sure.
Great. You spoke about a big number of people that go through your program.
Yes.
In the book itself, I read parts of it through my community. It's about the Mexican, Latino, Latin American experience involvement in gangs. Your involvement with other nationalities, other gangs, Asian American, African American, and also combining that with interreligious dialogue. How much of that do we need to do? How much of that have we gone through? I remember the 60s and how Catholic priests walked along the civil rights activists, and how we also united with the Southern Baptist Church in promoting the idea of liberation.
Uh-huh.
How is that? How are we progressing as Catholics?
Okay, interracial or interreligious dialogue, but also about the book probably, has more stories that are more skewed to the Latino population because the parish was 99% Latino in the beginning, and our first couple offices were mainly Latino. And then now we're in a location where we serve the whole county, and so we have African American, Bloods, Crips, Asian gang members. And so that's quite diverse now, which I'm really happy about. I don't know about interreligious dialogue. Again, this is all that you may be one, that everybody might work together to create the kind of community that we long to have. And that has to happen at that level. And more of it is a good thing. And so we have lots of relationships with the Episcopal churches and with synagogues, and that's a good thing. How about one last question? Let's see. Yes, sir.
About the rival gang members, how are those issues resolved in the setting?
So the question is about, and I'll end with one story, and then we'll go and attack this book. Sorry for not getting questions back there. I know you're... So the question is about rival gang members. And the truth is, homies will come to me as sort of common interest. They all want to work and they want to feel good about themselves and their mom to be proud and their kids not ashamed. So a kid will come to me and say, I really need a job, please, please, please. And I'll go, okay, I got an opening in the bakery, but you got to work with X, Y, and Z, and I mention enemies. And they always say the same thing. Well, I'll work with him, but I'm not going to talk to him. Which used to bother me in the early days until I discovered that you cannot demonize somebody you know. So in the years ago, there was a kid named Youngster who was from a gang called Primera Flats, and he seemed to be ready to me. And so they had an opening at the silkscreen, so I walk him into our big factory at the silkscreen factory. And I walk him through the floor of the place, 25 workers. I introduce him to every worker there. He shakes their hands and looks them in the eye, even his enemies, and I think, great. Until youngster gets to this guy named Puppet. And the two of them mumble something, they stare at their feet, they don't shake hands, they don't look at each other. Well, I know they're enemies because I know what gangs they hail from. But he just finished shaking hands with other enemies. I found out later that this was a hatred that was quite deep and beyond which he didn't think he could get. And so I sensed that at the moment, and I said, hey, look, if you guys can't hang working with each other, that's fine. Just let me know. I got 100 people who want to have this job. They don't say anything. About 4 months later, Puppet is returning to his home, having gone on a brief errand to a little local tienda to buy a gallon of milk for his mom. He cuts through an alley as a shortcut, and suddenly he finds himself surrounded by 10 members of a rival gang, 10 against 1. They beat him badly. He falls to the ground. While he's lying on the ground, these guys will not stop kicking his head until he's lying there lifeless. Somebody finds his body, brings him to White Memorial Hospital, where he's declared effectively brain dead. But they keep him connected to machines for 48 hours so they can get a flat read, and then they can officially disconnect him and declare him dead. I was at St. Louis University giving a talk. I flew home. I've seen a lot of horrible things in my life, nothing to compare to the sight of this young man with his head swollen many, many times its size. It was horrifying. You could barely train your eyes on him. It was so bad. I anointed him. We said a prayer after the 48-hour period. We disconnected him, and I buried him a week later. But in the first 24 hours, at 8:30 at night, I'm in my office, and I get a phone call from Youngster, Puppet's co-worker at the silkscreen factory. Hey, he says, that's messed up about what happened to Puppet. Yeah, it is. And then with a certain kind of eagerness even, he says, is there anything I can do? Can I give him my blood? And we both fall silent under the weight of it. Then finally he breaks the silence, choking back his tears, and he says with great deliberation, he was not my enemy. He was my friend. We worked together. Now, can I say that's happened in every case? Yes. Any exceptions? No. And the deepest longing of every human being is that we might be one. Thank you very much.